we'll be introducing our superstar. That's Mensa Manuel. Is currently a fellow at Alexander Van Humboldt Research Fellow, Universität Kassel, Germany. So we're going to be learning a lot from him. So I want you to still tune in. Please don't exit the section because we have exciting news to share with you before the end of the section. Thank you. So you have the floor now, Manuel.
All right. Good afternoon, and I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now, and okay. All right, so my screen can be seen. I hope so.
We can't see your screen. Okay, yes, we can see it.
Okay, all right. So good afternoon once again. As rightly introduced, I'm Manuel Mensah. I'm Ghanaian, and a research fellow of the Alexander von Humboldt at the Universität Kassel here in Germany. I'm currently researching on cycling, and that has been my field. My Master of Philosophy was done at the University of Cape Coast, where I also looked into micromobility. So basically, cycling, use of e-scooters, and others by children, specifically to school. And I looked at children's perception about these modes on our roads in Ghana, as well as the perception of drivers. And it was a big project, so someone also looked at that of parents. And I found this interesting when I was contacted to do this presentation because it's something I've been researching on for the past 3 years. And currently in Germany, yeah, that's what I do also. And I work with a group of people who have also researched on cycling. So whatever you see here today is not just my knowledge, but inputs of my friends, also of my work colleagues. Yeah, so I would just zoom straight into the presentation. I heard Liz asking if anyone worked today, and no one really responded. And I can relate because I've been in bed all day waiting for this moment, so I didn't work. But then it's occurred to me that even getting up from my bed, moving to this table, I worked, and we all work at a point in time. Even if you get carried, given princess treatment and royalty treatment, you even work in the bathhouse. I don't think anyone follows you to the bathhouse. You still work. So yes, working is an essential part of our daily lives, and it helps us access or get access to socio-economic activities such as income, jobs, socialize, meet loved ones, fall in love, meet crushes, and all that. However, the demand to move has created the demand for a transport service. And unfortunately, that transport service is mostly not met. So we have an efficient transport system. We are supposed to have an efficient transport system, ideally BRTs, most often, bus rapid transit. And we don't get that in our daily lives, especially in Africa. So what's happening? The informal transport sector is filling that gap. And in some countries, it's Okada, in others, it's Matatus, in others, it's Boda Boda. In Ghana, it is Trotro. And now we have the Okadas. Of course, the Nigerian influence on Ghana is sometimes uh, significant, but not when it comes to Jollof sometimes. And this increase in the informal sector has led to issues of congestion and pollution. And this led to um, world leaders and people coming together to say, no, there should be a way to curb this because of the negative impacts of congestion and pollution on our environment. So then there was SDG 11, which talks about sustainable cities and communities. But it was slow. I mean, the action towards ensuring a sustainable city was slow. And I really want to ask, I may not be able to see the responses. Maybe Liz can help me with that. But how many people believe COVID was the best thing that's happened to the transport sector? You can raise your hand, show the thumbs up, and I would. If someone has a different view, or I would love to hear the opinions like the way Boniface did it. So, um, how many people do you think COVID was the best thing that happened to the transport sector? You can, I can't hear you. Your microphone is muted. I can't hear you.
Please, can you put your answer in the chat box if you agree with this? Yes, that's we have a response from someone, from Stephen. He said COVID showed how fragile this transport sector was. It also led to a significant reduction in crashes. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
about to say.
yeah. That's also a nice perspective because a lot of people were not moving. We are locked indoors. Well, okay. Any other opinion on that?
Any other
COVID was one of
opinion?
the best things that happened to the transport sector. Okay, let me just proceed and I'll explain why. Probably people are like, what is he talking about? Because a lot of people died and all that. So, as Steven said, if you look at the statistics globally, within that period, there was a reduction in crashes because everyone was locked down in our rooms, and after COVID, people were also much careful with how they moved. But the reason why I believe that COVID was the best thing that happened to the transport sector was because the transport sector was the one of the hotspots for um, transmitting the COVID virus. So you would realize in some countries there was a ban on public transport, and in Ghana, for instance, I mean, more than two people couldn't sit in a car. This led to people cycling more and taking on personal mobility, using electric scooters, walking more. So we had more people walking and cycling during and after COVID than before COVID. And the statistics is here to show, um, yes. So before COVID, before the restrictions, you realize for walking, it used to be 26%. But during restrictions, it's increased to 40%. Cycling increased by a percentage. Yes, car travel also increased. If you see the car travel also increased. But then what is much significant is the increase from 26% to 40% in walking and then the 1% increase in cycling. And the reason for the change in modal was because people wanted to reduce the risk of self-infection and I mean all others. But the reason why I say COVID is the best thing that happened is because then when people started cycling more and walking more, cities began providing the infrastructure for people to walk more and cycle more. But that can't be said for Africa because not much was done. And for me, I always say that even providing the cycling lanes and the pedestrian lanes was a case of moving out of the frying pan into the fire. Because let's be frank, COVID didn't kill as many people as road traffic crisis has done in its lifetime.
Mhm.
And this is the data to show. This is from 2023. And 2023, 2022, which means 2 years, 3 years after COVID happened. And we can see the pedestrian crash rates in these countries: Rwanda, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Morocco, Uganda, Nigeria, South Africa, and Cameroon. So you realize that pedestrians are being killed more compared to cyclists, as the data also says. And when you look at the fatalities, pedestrians are being involved a little more, or let's say more like the motorized light vehicles. But then you ask yourself, is it pedestrians crashing against pedestrians? If pedestrians are crashing against pedestrians, then they shouldn't be dying,
Yeah.
unless there are knives and cutlasses involved. But it is the cars against the people. And that is why we are advocating for a 30-kilometer road per hour. Now, when you talk about the causes of road traffic crashes, like I said, it's not pedestrians against pedestrians. And it's got more to do with the human behavior. Because according to Judges and Abani in 1999, there are three factors that cause road traffic crashes. And we are mostly focused on the road. Oh, it's the road, the road, the road. But most often it's not the road, it is human behavior. And I just listed a few examples of what is human behavior. I was lucky to work with Abani. He's now Prof. Abani, Professor Abani. I was lucky to work with him. And he says that even when you pick the three factors that lead to road traffic crashes, you realize that they all come back to human behavior. So let's take mechanical fault, for instance, brake failures. Why would you fail to check your brakes in the morning or to ensure that your cars are good? So the lack of maintenance. Yes, we understand cars are machines and they can fail at any time, but for about 90% of the time, the failure of a car is because of poor maintenance, which is a human behavior. Now, if you take environment, for instance, it says bad weather. So there is flooding. You know there is flooding. Why are you still moving in the flood? Lack of infrastructure. You know the roads are not good. So when you get to a bad road, why are you speeding? Poor infrastructure maintenance is purely because someone is not doing his job. So it still comes back to the human behavior. So in advocating for a 30-kilometer per hour road, we should focus on the human behavior aspect of it, which is asking people to reduce their speeds. Now, it also comes to policy, the type of policies human beings make. The roads don't make policies for themselves. We humans make policies for ourselves. We don't, roads don't lack a sense of responsibility. It's human beings who lack a sense of responsibility. And that is why, as as a driver, you should be considerate towards other road users. But as drivers, we lack respect for other road users. And that is human behavior and not the fault of the road. So I sometimes argue with people when they say the roads are not safe. The roads, as much as possible, are safe, but human beings' behavior are not making the roads a conducive environment for people to move. But this has all got to do with grammar. In the end, yes, the roads are not safe for people to move on because of bad human behavior. Now, in advocating for a 30-kilometer zone, we tend to talk about crashes and all, but there is more to advocating for a 30-kilometer per hour street than just crashes. Now, when there is a 30-kilometer zone, this picture here actually was taken in my neighborhood a few days ago when I was told about the presentation. So there's an increased interest in walking and cycling when there is there are such speed zones, limit zones. And ever since I came to Germany, I've been cycling more. I was telling Liz an hour ago that I was waiting for this seminar to end because the sun is out and I need to go and cycle. And I feel safe cycling in Germany because the infrastructure is there, the roads are safe. But I must say, German drivers are the fastest drivers you could ever meet, and they could kill you easily. They speed between 70 and 80 on a normal stretch of road. So these are the type of roads we like to cycle on. The 30 roads. Luckily, we also have the Fahrradstraße, which is the cycle lanes. And the good thing is that on the cycle lanes, no car can overtake you, regardless whether there is space close to you or ahead of you. As long as you are on that lane, it gives priority to cycling. So then no car can overtake you, which is very safe. So there's an increased interest in walking and cycling. On Sundays, you see families cycling together, you see little children cycling. There is that increased interest. The more people cycle, it improves the health of citizens because you've created the environment for them to cycle. So they are actively engaged, they're actively involved. So it improves their health. Now it increases productivity also. And I am testimony to this. I am a witness to this. Um, like I said, ever since I came up with cycling, I had my bicycle, so I cycle on a regular. I am much more active and more productive during the day because I don't know how it happens, but I realize I am much active. Now, in increasing productivity, then there's going to be improved living standards. One, also because you don't spend much of your money but buying medicines to make yourself healthier and all that. You have the sun, you are cycling, you are sweating, you know, and it's because there is an enabled environment, a 30 kilometer per hour zone or streets for you to do so. Then the most important thing we tend to not look at often is a reduction in emissions and pollutions. In a sense that you don't tend to breathe in more fumes. And I realized this when I returned to Ghana somewhere in 2023. I was like, whoa, is this the weather? Because it was so hot. I could smell car fumes everywhere, and it was crazy. Really, really crazy. I was like, wow, is this what we all inhale just by standing by the road? You know? And I got to appreciate this system very much. So there's a reduction in emissions and pollutions, which reduces cancer, the sickness, and all that. But then there's the economic aspect of it, which I think as global leaders or youth ambassadors in trying to advocate for more safe roads to encourage cycling and walking, we should look at. This is data from Germany's revenue, how much they earned from cycling and walking. In total, I'm not going to bore you with the breakdown as you can see, but the government was able to make 141 billion euros just from people walking and cycling.
Wow.
This amount of money can change a lot of economies in Africa. But we don't sell the economic benefits to our leaders because we also don't know it. Now, our leaders are always looking for money to, excuse me to say, to steal sometimes. Now, imagine selling to them that, see, when we are walking and we are cycling, we can make this amount of money. No, even if we don't make 141 euros, let's just say maybe 51 million euros every year from walking and cycling. And then you can take maybe the 5 million euros you want to take. At least we are left with some 50 or 45 euros to ourselves, which can do a lot of things for the community. But then we are not also selling the economic benefits or these benefits to our politicians when we are advocating. So they don't tend to see it. I mean, for when you are chatting with someone who loves money, you always have to sell them ideas from the money point of view. Okay. So what are other countries doing? In certain countries like Rwanda, there was the car-free day where you could see that the roads were free of cars, and you see people jogging. I mean, you can see people who on a normal day may not be jogging on the road, and everyone is feeling free. That sense of freedom that comes with being on the road, a road that is scary because of cars. You see children here holding their bicycles, going to school, walking, probably coming back from school. As a parent, knowing that my child is going to come back home safe and sound just because of infrastructure wouldn't make me worried. So then there's increased productivity because I am at work, I am focused on my work, I am not worried about is my child home yet. I don't need to leave home. I mean, I don't need to leave work to go pick up my child because if I let them walk, the chances of them dying is about 40%, 90%, and whatnot. So then there's increased productivity. And I mean, for people who love to cycle, also, you realize that having a dedicated lane for cycling um, is very important. And as other countries have done, let me quickly rush through other. So in Cape Town, like this, there's this dedicated lane. Um, Nairobi also has it. Kampala also has it. Kigali, which is also in Rwanda, and then Addis Ababa also has it. I couldn't post anything from Ghana because ours has been occupied by hawkers, and they've pushed the pedestrians so they've pushed the cyclists to the pedestrian lanes, and the cyclists have pushed the pedestrians to the road, and the roads are being shared with the drivers. So yeah, I wasn't so proud to share it, but we do have some also. So what can we do differently? If policy implementation fails, grassroots activism must apply. And I say that one problem we have as Africans is we like advocating too much. We don't we don't act. So yes, there is an advocacy going on. The people are hearing you, they are not doing anything. What do you do? Start from the grassroots. Get your friends, organize events, cycling events where people will cycle. Let them see that cycling is still a thing. You know, in Germany, for instance, and in Netherlands, you can't go on a date with a girl in a car. Like the chances of you being bounced by the lady is very high. But let it be with a bicycle, and yeah, damn sure to have a date. You know, let people understand, enjoy the benefits of cycling. So once you increase the demand for cycling, you increase the interest, you increase the demand. Politicians love to see the best language they know is, I mean, demonstrations, you know, not just advocacy, but we are cycling. We don't have a route to use. So, yes, the politician is going to work, organize cyclists to lead him to work in his car. He's in his car, but there are cycles in front of him. And then let him see that, okay, if I provide a cycling lane for you guys, you are not going to block my road when I'm going to work. Just try do that for, let's say, 2 days, because I know by the first day, second day, you will start organizing the military and the security to get you off the road. But even with that, by the time he gets to the office, the bicycles are there waiting for him to see that, yes, we are making a statement. It's not just about attending conferences and making noise. That yes, we want this. And no, it doesn't work that way. They would always make statements, and politicians know we love statements. At the end of the day, we clap, we get our little refreshment. Everyone goes, we come back again, make noise. Nothing happens. It takes me to my next point. You are the light of the world. You can't be advocating for 30-kilometer streets, or you can't be telling people to cycle when you yourself you drive. I mean, it doesn't work like that way. Yesterday, I heard Botswana was trying to celebrate this year's event, and they had organized cars to go around to tell people about walking and cycling. And one of the youth advocacy groups in Botswana said, no, that is wrong. You can't preach cycling when you're sitting in a car. So the government retracted and created a car-free day, and people loved it. You see, that is the type of impact we want. You are a driver. You get to a zone. You have to be careful how you drive, because how you drive is also a reflection of the things you stand for, the values you stand for. So you can't tell people cycle, 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 and then they see you sitting in your car, moving to come and tell them to cycle. At the end of the day, there'll be no one cycling. There'll be that demand for the 30 kilometer per hour street will not be there also, and the politician won't mind you. Now, we need to treat cycling as a public health issue rather than a recreational activity only. And I can say this from the Ghanaian policy point of view, where in our policies and regulations, the use of micromobility modes, I mean, scooters and bicycles, have been reduced to recreational modes. So they've only been restricted to being used as recreational grounds. And the question is, so if I can afford an electric scooter and want to take to work, just by using it on the road makes it illegal and I can be arrested. Now, I'm also not allowed to use the pedestrian walk, which is already occupied by hawkers. So if I have an electric scooter and I don't have the money to afford a car, how am I supposed to move with my electric scooter from my home to work? So we need to treat it as a public health issue, also concerning the fact that it's active travel. It makes us healthier, it reduces pollution, and the rest. Now, my favorites, catch them young and they shall be yours forever. So I know this group is known as the Youth for Road Safety. You know, who are we catching young? We are catching students and children young. So as a form of advocacy, how are we reaching the schools, the primary schools? Because those are the future of, of our roads. Those are the future leaders. How do we make cycling fun and safe for them? We could create cycling clubs and all that in schools. Get schools to buy into the idea of allowing students to cycle to school. But then we should also find a way to make sure that, in as much as children are cycling to school, the institutions also make sure that the roads leading to the school are speed restricted. Let me see. Yes, I saw the video from Ghana where it says that the speed limits in Ghana is 30. That's actually my boss, my former boss, David Abdonte. Yes, it's 30 kilometers, blah. But the question is it being implemented? No, it's not being implemented. So we need to catch children young. We need to create the environment to make it very interesting for them and very safe for them to cycle. Then my last point is we need to invest in capacity and research. And I have noticed that when it comes to advocacy, especially regarding road safety and the rest, we feel as much as possible to present the figures on the ground. We like presenting the global figures and all that. But let's research more into ways of increasing advocacy, ways of doing these things. You know, our local actions should reflect the local situations. You can't carry a global solution and bring it to the local level. Most often, it doesn't work that way. We need to tailor our local actions to suit the local situations. So I always tell people, yes, Netherlands is doing it, Germany is doing it. But then these people have different sociocultural beliefs and systems. How are you going to influence the Ghanaian or the Nigerian man who knows that owning a car is the highest level of achievement anyone can get when you start working? How are you going to convince him to park his car? This has all got to do with research because other countries are doing it. Get it? So let's also try as much as possible to invest in ourselves, in our research. I like the fact that we attend conferences. There are these CAP devs happening where we train youth leaders and all that, which is good. And we need more of that. So, I mean, quick one. This image was actually, I mean, the day I was told I would have to make a presentation, I go to the canteen and there is a petition being signed, even in Frankfurt, advocating for a 30 kilometer per hour road. And I was shocked. I was like, whoa, this is like God talking to me to make this presentation because even in Frankfurt, they are advocating for 30 kilometer per, I mean, per hour streets. So it's this is the little I have regarding advocating for a 30 kilometer per hour streets, and I hope we all become good ambassadors for it. We are not saying everyone should cycle. We are not saying everyone should walk. We are not saying no one should own a car. But then just remember that a majority of people actually do walk and cycle. So then if we are making our routes, then we need to consider those who walk and cycle the more than those who use cars. I think this brings me to the end of my presentation, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you, Manny, for that wonderful presentation. I don't know if you can hear my clap from there, and I know participants will be clapping as well. Thank you so much. That was very, very insightful, and it was very educative and inspiring. You brought a lot of things into limelight. In fact, I've gained a lot, and I believe we've all learned a lot as well. There was something you said that in your presentation that there's a way, walking and cycling, it's improved health of the citizen, right? And you also said
Yeah.
it increased productivity. No wonder this advanced country, no wonder they are doing well. So I feel that if we could implement these 30 kilometer speed per hour in all the countries in Africa, definitely this the productivity we want to see, the developments we want to see will definitely, be
Yeah.
reality. Thank you so much. And you missed your presentation with a sense with humor. I was just, blushing during your presentation. Thank
I
you.
had to pick on Nigeria because they
Yeah,
are our brothers and they are the easy people I can pick on.
yeah.
So
And I understand you're a researcher, but maybe you could please put you should join comedy with it. You sell much, my brother.
so when you talked about going to meet the minister and all that, something just I just remembered a point I wrote down which I didn't mention quickly, and
Okay.
I believe as advocates we should sometimes also find a way to get into the political scene where we can influence actions and
Yes.
initiate these actions than rather talking all the time. And I'm not saying stand for a member of parliament, but maybe even at the local area, at the local level, where you can be maybe an assembly member or something. Just find yourself in politics to be able to influence some of these changes. We need more young people in politics. Unfortunately, most of us get corrupt when we get there, and I just hope those of us here will be very different when we do. Thank you.